Snow fell in heavy, quiet sheets that night, covering the whole town in white. Windows glowed with warm, safe light. Families sat around fireplaces. Children slept under thick blankets. Cars were parked. Streets were empty. The world was wrapped in warmth, except for her. A young black woman stood alone outside Grace Chapel, shivering as the wind sliced through her thin coat. Her hands trembled as she wrapped them around her swollen belly. 8 months pregnant, hungry, exhausted, frozen, and tired of running. Her name was Naomi Carter, and she had nowhere left to go. She stared at the big wooden doors. They had once felt holy to her, safe, full of hope, full of faith. But tonight, those doors held the final truth she could no longer escape. The truth about the man who stood behind them. She took a deep breath and forced her numb fingers to lift. She knocked once lightly, almost too weak to hear. The wind swallowed the sound. She knocked again, harder this time, even though her bones ached. And then, the door opened. Warm light spilled out, framing the tall figure standing inside, Pastor Elijah Warren. The man the whole town trusted. The man people called God's servant. The man who prayed for others, guided others, healed others. The man who looked at Naomi now as if he were staring at a ghost. His eyes scanned her face. Then he looked down at her belly, and his knees gave out. He fell right there onto the cold floor, gripping the doorframe to steady himself, his breathing sharp and broken. His voice cracked. "Dear God, forgive me." Naomi didn't move. She didn't reach out. She didn't speak, because she knew exactly what he was asking forgiveness for. He wasn't praying to God. He was confessing to her. This was how everything began. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Naomi had not always been standing alone in the snow, begging for a place to breathe. A few months earlier, she lived a simple but good life. She worked at a small grocery store in town. She smiled easily. She loved helping people. She sang in the church choir every Sunday morning, her voice soft but beautiful enough to fill the room with warmth. And she trusted people deeply, especially Pastor Elijah. He had been there when she lost her mother. He prayed at the funeral. He visited her home and said she was like a daughter of the church. He told her she had a bright spirit and a good heart. But people like Naomi, people who trust too quickly often, trust the wrong person. It happened on a Wednesday night. Storm had knocked the power out. Naomi was alone, cleaning up after choir practice when Pastor Elijah walked in. The church was dark except for one emergency light. He closed the door behind him. He said he wanted to check on her. He said she looked tired. He said she shouldn't walk home alone in the dark. But the look in his eyes that night wasn't holy. It wasn't kind. And it wasn't safe. Naomi tried to leave, but he stepped in front of her. He grabbed her arm. He whispered that everyone makes mistakes. He told her she owed him respect. He said nobody would believe her if she tried to tell anyone. And that night changed her whole life. She ran. She didn't speak. She didn't understand. She didn't even know how to process what had happened. She cried for days. Her body and heart were broken. But the worst blow came weeks later. The pregnancy test. 2 lines. Positive. She sat on her bathroom floor for an hour, shaking. That night replayed in her mind over and over until she couldn't breathe. She didn't sleep for days. When she finally gathered courage, her hands trembling, she walked into the church office with a small envelope in her purse, Dr. S. note confirming her pregnancy. She asked to speak privately with Pastor Elijah. He didn't greet her. He didn't ask how she was. He didn't offer her a seat. He just stared at her stomach. And when she told him the truth, he denied knowing anything. He said she was confused. He said she misunderstood. He said she had always been emotional. He said she was trying to destroy his ministry. And then he said the words that shattered her last piece of strength. "I am a man of God, and you are nothing without this church." She left the office shaking, humiliated, scared. She didn't tell anyone else who would believe her over the most respected man in town. So she kept quiet. She kept working. She saved money. She planned to leave town before the baby was born, but life doesn't always wait for your plans. 1 month later, she lost her job. A sudden budget cut, they said. But Naomi knew the truth. The pastor's cousin was the manager. People talk, whisper, judge. Her landlord raised the rent. She couldn't pay. She was evicted. Her few friends drifted away. confused by the rumors subtly spread about her. Rumors she never started, rumors she could not stop. It felt like the whole town had slowly turned its back, all because she had tried to speak the truth about the one man nobody dared question. Finally, on a freezing winter evening, she packed the little she had and decided to leave town forever. But the snowstorm hit harder than she expected. The buses stopped running. Her phone battery died. The streets were empty. And her contractions started early. She could barely walk. She almost collapsed twice. And that's when she saw Grace Chapel, the only place with lights still on. Her feet carried her there like memory, like instinct, like a last prayer. She didn't want comfort. She didn't want forgiveness. She wanted accountability. She wanted him to see what he had done. She wanted him to face the truth he buried. She wanted him to understand that this child was real and that he couldn't hide anymore. She didn't knock to ask for help. She knocked so he couldn't pretend she didn't exist. So when the door opened and Pastor Elijah saw her belly, his secret, his sin, he fell to his knees. He wasn't grieving, he was caught. Naomi's face was pale and tired. Her voice came out soft, almost breaking. "Stand up," she whispered. "Look at what you did." But he couldn't. He was shaking. Ice. His hands covered his mouth. His eyes filled with tears of guilt, not compassion. "Naomi, please." "I can explain." "There is nothing left to explain," she said, her breath visible in the cold air. He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "I lost everything," she said. "My job, my home, my safety, my peace, because you." She swallowed the pain burning in her throat, "because you hid behind God." Pastor Elijah wept harder. "I never meant for it to go this far." A painful laugh escaped her. "You mean you never meant to get caught?" Silence. Only the wind answered. She turned, ready to walk away, again, back into the storm, into the unknown. But suddenly, her knees buckled. A sharp pain stabbed her stomach, a contraction. She gasped and held the wall. Elijah jumped to his feet. "Naomi, you're in labor." She pushed him away again. "Don't touch me!" But her body gave her no choice. Another contraction hit. She leaned forward, breathing hard. He looked at her belly, at her trembling legs, at her tear-stained cheek sand. Something in him broke. "I did this," he whispered. "I did this to you. And I am not letting you walk away alone again." He stepped outside, letting the cold hit his own skin. Snow soaked his shoes. He took off his coat and wrapped it around her shoulders, even though she didn't want him to. "Naomi, let me help you." Her tears froze on her cheeks. "Why should I trust you?" "Because I can't undo the past," he said, voice cracking. "But I will answer for it tonight. To you, to God, to this child." Her strength finally gave out. She let him guide her inside, not out of forgiveness, but because she was collapsing. He carried her gently to the sanctuary, laying her near the heater. The storm raged outside. Contractions grew closer. Her breaths quickened. She whispered, "I'm scared." Pastor Elijah knelt beside her, his hand shaking. "You have every right to hate me," he said, "but please, don't go through this alone." She closed her eyes, exhausted. Hours passed. The storm howled. The baby pushed its way into the world. And when that baby cried for the first time aloud, strong cry a miracle, cracked through all the pain. Naomi sobbed with relief, holding her baby close. A daughter, beautiful and warm against her chest. The pastor stared at the newborn with trembling lips. "She looks like you," he whispered. Naomi looked away. "You don't get to claim her." He nodded slowly. "I know, but I'm done hiding. When the sun rises, I'm telling the whole congregation the truth. All of it. What I did. It's who she is. Everything." Naomi didn't believe him. Not yet. But he did. At sunrise, he walked onto the stage. His voice trembled as he confessed the truth, the abuse, the denial, the pregnancy, the rumors he spread to destroy her. Gasps filled the church. People cried. People shouted. But Naomi didn't move. She sat quietly in the back, rocking her daughter, letting the truth finally breathe. Pastor Elijah ended with, "Naomi owes me nothing, but I owe her everything." and I will spend the rest of my life making this right." He stepped down. Some people walked out. Some people prayed. Some people came to Naomi, tears in their eyes, begging her forgiveness for not believing her. She didn't know what future waited for her, but for the first time in months, she felt seen, heard, safe. As she held her newborn daughter warm, tiny, perfect, she whispered, "You are not a secret. You are not a shame. You are my miracle." And for the first time in a long time, she believed her own words. Because sometimes the hardest stories are the ones that heal us all.